Hello and welcome. I'm Mr. Foreman. Welcome over there. This is a video primarily for parents of students taking any of my three different class types. So that'll be the engineering design and architecture class, the manufacturing engineering technology class, and the advanced manufacturing engineering technology class. I just want to cover briefly for the parents in case you happen to not be able to make it back to school night, kind of cover the topics that I'd talk about there. But I'm really excited. This is actually my second year of teaching now at Oak Ridge High School in the Manufacturing Engineering Technology program. Last year was my first year, learned a lot, and this year I'm hitting the ground that much faster. I learned a lot, and I'm looking really excited about the year because we're already doing some fun stuff, and I'm having a really good time in class. So hopefully your students, if they've talked about anything, that they've said that they've been doing fun stuff in class. But as it relates to the engineering and drafting class, that is supposed to be kind of the entry-level class. I have kind of a mix, and I've got a range of 9th graders, even up to 12th graders taking that class. But the purpose of that class is actually to learn, back in the day it would be called a drafting class, and ask your students about it. They're actually working on doing hand drawings right now, of all things. And with them, I still want them to understand the power of having a pencil, piece of paper, and the things that you can accomplish while thinking about what you're doing. Just with a piece of pencil and with a piece of paper and a pencil, I should say. So this year, what they will work onto, though, is we'll focus on the paper and pencil work, but we are quickly going to transition into solid modeling software this year. SolidWorks, which is an industry standard solid modeling software. So if your student's interested in mechanical design, that's pretty much local companies that you'll see that are small to medium size. Industry standard software is still SolidWorks, and I want to have them with a foundation in that. We'll also be learning another software that's actually free to your student is Fusion 360. In a few weeks, once everything's stabilized with adds and drops, students are going to be creating Autodesk accounts. With that software, you're actually, with that manufacturer of the software, that software company, students are able to get that software free. And so if your students come home and say, hey, is it okay if I download this software? That's where this is coming from. And I really encourage you to allow your students, if you've got a good internet connection, that's kind of a prerequisite to that software, and a decent computer, they should have it available to them at home. It's not a necessity, but again, if your student decides that they're really into this, they're going to have resources on their own to keep learning and growing on their own. And you'll probably find that if your student's really into it, they may be coming up with a lot of really interesting stuff on their own. So I encourage you to allow your students to download Fusion 360 software if they come home and ask to do that. With that class too, we are also going to transition into 3D printing. So with solid modeling skills, you're going to know how to 3D print. And also I want students in general to come away from this class with a knowledge of what the design process is. So if they get into engineering or architecture, product development, any number of things, or if you just want to know that your student can think well, the design process is really applicable across a wide range. I'm also splitting it a little bit. The class is also going to cover some architectural topics. My background is more of an engineer in mechanical design and components and things that would go, say, into like a car, not necessarily buildings, but another portion of this class is actually going to have students learning about architectural design and how to build buildings and structures and organize spaces and stuff too. And also learning how to measure and things like that, which is very helpful. So again, even if your student wants to be a homeowner someday, these are very practical lessons that they will be able to learn, and we'll cover topics related to that in that class. Now the students, we've got parents of students in the manufacturing classes. There's addition from, so if your student jumped in to the manufacturing class without taking the engineering design class, don't worry, we're kind of starting off from the basic there. We're not doing as much hand drafting in that class to start, but those students are also going to be heavily reliant, and we're working on solid modeling right now. But in that class, we are quickly jumping into welding here while the weather's nice out there, so students are actually going to be out welding. So to parents, make sure if your students like to wear shorts and flip-flops to school every day, I'm reminding them we've got a bit of a dress code for safety stuff that we're going to be going over. Welding, we need to have closed-toed shoes and pants. So if that's an issue and your students come home and say, hey, I need a pair of pants because I'm welding, that's the reason why. So denim, probably the best, just cotton, simple, doesn't have to be over the top. But that's something that will allow your student to have fun in the class and be working. But also other things in this class that we're going to be learning, we'll also be 3D printing, welding. We're going to be learning how to do CNC machining, so actually taking a piece of metal and cutting away at it using our milling machines. I've got a turning center here that's going to work. Your students are going to learn how to do that. Measurement, precision measurement, 3D printing, and again, learning about the design process. And there's a cool project, probably try and do a walkthrough and show you some of the projects that I'm hoping to take on in those classes early on. Then the advanced class is, again, building off of that manufacturing class. This year I have a number of students that are repeating from me, so we're going to be diving into some fun stuff. I need their help in the advanced class. We're also going to be starting in with welding again, refreshing our solid modeling skills, working then also on professional development through our professional skills, which is actually going to be through all the classes here, and then really learning more about the nuances of the design process, but then also with an eye towards designing something that would then be able to be sold, and developing that entrepreneurial and business mindset and culturing a product that you can actually sell and have be profitable, and making the transition jump from prototyping into production, because there is a big difference there. But we'll see what we can cover this year. I'm really excited. I've got good materials to start with. And the only thing that I'd like to say too is that I'm going to be putting a request out for donations. The school district will allocate me a certain budget every year, but it's always nice to have a little bit more than what they even allocate. We are going to be taking on this class, so as an example, here's a 3D printed part, fairly large. This is an aid, instructional aid. This material on the really nice 3D printer I have costs about $5 per cubic inch to print out, so that gets a little bit pricey on that. I've got things like this aluminum box that students in the manufacturing class will take on. I have a bit of a stockpile of this. I'll buy some more material, but it only goes so far. And again, the consumables that I have to deal with in this class, the cutting tools can cost $25 to $30 plus or more a piece. And if we have, this is a learning environment, things do get broken just in the course of learning. So the more funds that I have available to work with, the more stuff we can do with the students. The projects can get even cooler and have more, students aren't coming to a standstill for a lack of material. So the recommended donation per student is about $25, but again, that's non-mandatory at all. I'll have a letter sent out to you as well. But any little bit helps to contribute and allows us to do that much more. And these are project-based learning classes if you want to do that. Students are learning by taking on realistic, authentic problems. And I think it is some of the best ways to learn, and the things that they can learn in these classes are some of the most valuable lessons they could learn throughout their entire high school career, regardless of whether they decide to go on to engineering, regardless of whether they decide to go on to college. Again, these skills could land your students jobs even straight out of high school. And I'm happy to say that I had one graduating senior last year placed with a local company in his transition from going on hopefully to a 4-year institution, needed a good job to help build up money, and I was actually able, he was going to go into manufacturing engineering, was able to land him with a local company that was willing to hire him straight out. So he's also developing usable skills if he, once he lines up and continues on to engineering school in a year or two. So anyway, hopefully I'll take you on a quick brief walk through the shop if you can't make it on back to school night. Nothing else, I will add a link to email me. I have my official school email address, and then I'm also opening up an Oak Ridge, ORHS MET @gmail account that you can email with any questions, or if you want to help and contribute to that. I can also use, if you have knowledge or people that have been in this trade or retired, or you work at a company where you know somebody who does stuff, or yourself, you're interested in coming in and helping out. I can use all the volunteers I can get to help keep eyes on in the shop, to help keep things moving safely. And again, if you have technical skills and know about the stuff that we do, whether it's welding, CNC machining, design, SolidWorks, anything like that, I'd love to have you in here volunteering and helping out. So again, if you have any interest in that, please reach out to me, and I would love to get you involved. So thanks very much, and we'll take you through the shop and show you what's here.